If you feel like an imposter, you're going in the right direction. What's going on? You're listening to episode 18 of the Perspective Podcast, and I'm your host, Scotty.D.Russell of Perspective Collective. This show is about encouraging you to push your creative career forward. Whether you have a day job, you have a family at home, you don't feel like you're good enough, you don't have the time, okay? I want this show to convince you are good enough, okay? And the world needs your creativity. The topic of today's episode really hits home, especially growing up as a person who got bullied, got picked on, lacked a lot of confidence, was a people pleaser. I feel like an imposter. And I'm sure this is something you deal with. I know plenty of people deal with it, but not everybody talks about it. And I'm never going to have this show be a highlight reel and me telling you how great my life is when, it's really not. I struggle every day, but we're supposed to struggle. And I feel it's important for me to share this with you in this episode. And I feel like I've really grown to love podcasting because I heard something from Alex Blumberg of This American Life podcast, huge podcast. Go and check that out. I'll link it in the show notes. But he mentioned that audio is honesty. You don't have to visually see someone, but you can always hear the honest tonality in someone's voice. And I think that's why I've been drawn to podcasting, and that's why podcasting has been so great for me, because it's just a way for me to kind of express myself, get some things off my chest, and share with you that life isn't always great as a creative. I struggle every day. And self-doubt used to be my best friend. Hell, it still is as I continue to become more vulnerable and push my creative career forward. Why should someone take me serious, and why should someone care? Some of the things that I tell myself daily are, I work a day job and I am not a proven self-sufficient artist. I have student loan debt weighing me down like a ton of bricks. I don't have prolific big-name clients. To me, all of these scream that I'm not a professional and that I am a nobody. Yet at the same time, I'm learning to realize that none of these things matter if I keep doing what I love and what I enjoy the most. And this episode is dedicated to show you that you are not the only person facing an inner struggle each day. I want to convince you that you are an imposter, and that's okay. It means you're going in the right direction. But I want to give you a little bit more preface to what I've been struggling with, and dive into my current struggle and what I've been going through in the past. I'll be honest, I've been in a brand identity crisis since about last year, once I got heavy into blogging and started seeing some results. Just when I think I have everything figured out, I begin doubting it all the next day. I massively struggle with how to position myself to the creative community and how to offer my services. On one hand, I'm an artist / freelancer, and my work is what got me any attention in the first place. On the other hand, I feel like I exist to serve a bigger purpose than just creating art. And that's where I got into blogging, speaking, and podcasting. That all manifested from this feeling, a higher power drawing me to share my voice more than just art. I'm confident as hell in my art these days compared to the boy who used to be terrified to share his work with anyone. I would keep a sketchbook by my side and I wouldn't share it because I'd be afraid people would pick on me even worse. It took me a long time to get to this point where I realized that only I can do what I do best. Although people can, and they do, rip my style and rip my work off, no one else can replicate the message and context I inject into my work. When I'm creating, I feel like it's truly the only time I'm really in the moment and I feel the most alive. It's about the only time I'm not dwelling on the past or laser focused on what's next in the future. However, the doubt starts to creep in with the influencer side of my brand, for lack of better terms. And when I talk about influencer, I'm essentially just saying that I'm using different channels like writing and speaking instead of just art to encourage creatives. I don't understand why, but I've been convinced that I've had to separate these two identities within my business. Questions I would ask myself is, can Perspective Collective really house the artist and freelancer as well as this influencer role? Can I really have an umbrella job title that combines both of these identities? I realize I'm extremely overthinking things, but this is a real pain point for me. Practically every piece of creative motivational content I've produced since pursuing this influencer path has made me cringe when I hit publish. Being serious, it makes me cringe when I hit publish. And there's this element of feeling fake for so many reasons. For the longest time, I've lacked clarity on how to communicate what it is I do outside of art. People ask me what I do, and I have no idea how to explain this to them. I've been filtering myself for the longest time, trying not to offend people. I grew up swearing. I've been in sports. I've coached football, and people use bad language all the time. It's just a part of me, but I felt like I couldn't share that. And that had me feeling super corny and hella cheesy with the majority of my messaging because I couldn't be my true self. Just this curated, filtered version to please people and please the masses. These are just a few reasons of why I felt so fake for so long. I know that I am more than art. I just don't know how to communicate this. People in my audience, they've called me a coach. They've called me a consultant, a mentor, several occasions. So I thought maybe this is the route I needed to go. Maybe I needed to use my audience's language. What they called me, maybe that's what I need to be. I tried giving myself the title of creative coach or creative mentor, and I shit you not, I die a little bit inside every time I called myself it publicly. It just didn't feel right, and it just doesn't feel right at this moment as I'm talking to you. It feels off. Sadly, since I've been speaking more at conferences lately, I am absolutely terrified of my idols thinking I'm a corny piece of shit. I don't want to care what they think, but damn, I really do care. I really care what these people think of me. I want to build a relationship with these people. But the imposter voice within me tears me apart day by day as I feel I'm proclaiming I'm something I'm not. This inner voice of doubt and imposter screams at me, "Hey, Scotty, you're a 28-year-old artist who has a day job and you're from Iowa. Why the hell should anyone take you serious with a title like creative mentor?" Only recently have I been able to cope with this serious but not serious dilemma. It's been through a quote that I recently heard, and it's been through being vocal about my problems with people like you and close people around me. And this leads me to talking about why it's okay to be an imposter. This past October, I got the opportunity to hear Nathan Barry speak. Let me tell you, he has a fantastic presence on stage, and he's the author of the book Authority. Highly recommend checking that out too. I'm also going to link that up in the show notes, perspective-collective.com/18. His message of focusing on what works and dedicating yourself to it really stuck. However, there was a deep point that he made that cut deep into my core. And he stated, if you feel like an imposter, you're going in the right direction. I needed to hear this. I needed to hear that even the juggernauts of the creative industry felt and still feel like imposters. This is a normal feeling. I repeat, this is a normal feeling. Yeah, I'm 28 years old, but I'm not supposed to have everything figured out yet. Adversity and self-doubt are prerequisites when pursuing your creative career. This isn't supposed to be easy, but it is about showing up each day and figuring out what works and what doesn't. And currently, me forcing myself to step into this influencer role and titling myself as a creative mentor just isn't panning out. So this leads me to encouraging you to be comfortable with your identity. The day I picked up a pencil, or most likely a crayon, because, kids shouldn't be playing with sharp pointed tips on pencils. The day I picked up a crayon, I immediately became an artist. When I'm buried in my grave, I will be an artist. Right now in my life, I am an artist. I'm an artist who does hand lettering and illustrations. Okay, that's what I love to do, and I feel that's my best strength. So I'm gonna roll with that. Yet I'm also just a fellow creative who is in your corner cheering you on to do great things with your work. If you want to call me a mentor or a coach, whatever, that's cool. I'm not going to label myself that anymore. I can't continue to force something that doesn't feel right like I have been over the last year. This will all happen in time. I can't force myself overnight to become the future version of myself I envision in 5 to 10 years. It doesn't work that way. As I've shared my struggles with you on this episode, I would love to hear from you. What are you struggling with right now? Where do you feel like an imposter on your creative path? I would love to hear from you and hear your story, and it encourages me that I'm not alone, even amongst my peers. So if you want to reach out, send me an email at scotty@perspective-collective.com. I would love to hear from you. I will read it. I will respond. And I want you to realize that you're not alone, and even the people you look up to deal with this imposter syndrome. It's important to follow your intuition and trust your gut. If something feels off, and it has for a while, reevaluate things and find people who you can talk to. Like, I literally had a conversation last night in my mastermind weekly meeting group, okay? And I just kind of spilled the beans and shared what I've been struggling with, and they helped me talk through it. It's been huge for me. It's been huge to get this off my chest, and I'm finding massive amounts of relief in sharing this with you, and I hope you're finding some relief too. So in conclusion, my name is Scotty.D.Russell, and I'm an artist who does illustrations and hand lettering. I'm also an imposter, and that's okay. This episode has been a game changer with me. It's probably the most clarity I've had on the mic yet. It's definitely an insight of who I'm going to finish up being going into the end of the year, and the person I'm becoming in 2017 and beyond, the artist I'm becoming, and whatever role grows after that will do it on its own naturally. Okay, I'm not going to force anything anymore. And it's been so liberating to have this off my chest. If you're getting value from the episode, I would sincerely appreciate, a positive review on iTunes. You may not think it does much, but it really does. It helps other creatives who may be struggling with the same things you are. It helps them discover the show as well. And just sharing it with somebody who may need just this encouraging boost to pursue their creativity, share it with them. I'm not asking for your money. I'm just asking for a share. Share it to someone who needs it. If you have feedback, shoot it to my email. I want to improve. I want to be great. I realize I screw up words when I go back and listen to each episode. I realize I mess things up. I stutter sometimes. My audio levels might be off, but I want to improve. So if you have suggestions, send it my way. As I said, I want to be great. You can send it to Scotty@perspective-collective.com. If you want to find me online, you can go to perspective-collective.com. That's where you'll find the blog, the podcast show notes, all my artwork. If you want to hire me, you can find me there too. I put out tons of free resources out there to help you take your creativity to the next level. I want to give a huge shout out to Nick Jenkins of Blookah for the theme music on this show. You can find him and his work on soundcloud.com/Blookah. That's BLOOKAH. As always, I want to thank you for lending me your ears. I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to listen. I want to encourage you to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and keep creating. You've got this.